Welcome to Mitch's Music. This morning, we're going to start looking at some Christmas music, and we are going to start with our favorite Thanksgiving turned Christmas song, and that is Jingle Bells. So let me grab my guitar and we'll get started. All right. Now, Jingle Bells, and the way that I have it, let me change the camera angle here a little bit. Jingle Bells, the way that I have it on my channel, is meant to be an easier version of Jingle Bells for playing. So easier for melody. I don't always sing it in this key. So if you're looking for the chords, you might want to change the key, and we'll talk through that in a little bit. But the melody is just the all right. And so it just does those chords. Sounds like I'm out of tune this morning. It got cold. All right, good enough. So it starts with the B string, and if you're just playing the chorus, you're only going to use the B and the G string. So you just start with the B string, then B to the third fret, then G, second fret, then B again, then first fret on the B string, open, 2 on the G string, then 2, and it kind of does the same thing again. And then it changes right here, goes back to 3 on the B, or you can do so 3, 3, 1, 2 on G, open. And so that's the melody. That's the way I wrote it out because it's easier that way. And then that is fairly easy as well. So if you would like to learn that, I'll link up the video that goes along with it, and you can download any of these tabs. I've got all of the tabs for free on my Patreon if you would like to get those. So let's talk through the chords. I'm doing this one in G. Like I said, it's not exactly, I don't exactly like singing it in this key all the time. But if I was strumming it, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the low E string. Let me see if I can I'm not getting the best camera angle today. Let's see if nope, still not getting it. There we go. All right. So what I normally end up doing with this one is I'm doing that standard, just alternating between the root and the fifth on the bass, just that standard country picking chord. So I'm just going between G and then picking the top strings and then D. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. You go to C. Oh, what fun it is to ride. Then this is A7. One horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. All right, so that's kind of the chord progression for the chorus, and let's talk through the chords. So we're basically doing that pattern the whole time. But depending on the chord that you're playing, that pattern's going to change. So when I go to C, I'm going to have to move my third finger. So I'm going from the C here, and I'm moving it to the third fret of the G string. So here, and I'm just playing those upper strings. So it ends up sounding like this. And the second time through, I did a walk up. So that walk up, I did a whole video on walk ups that I'll link in the description below. But I did a walk up from the G. So when you do that, you do, or, so you play the root and then A, B, C, G, A, B, C. So G, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun, G. And then A is going to do that same pattern as the C, but you don't have to move your finger. You're just playing the A and then D, then G. D. When you go to D, you're playing the D chord with those upper strings, and you're just going between D and A like that. And you can also play this song with easier chords. So if you're not ready to play those full chords yet, you can cheat with the G. So instead of doing this, you could play just all of the notes down here. So all I'm doing is I've got my third finger on the third fret of the E string, and you just play the bottom four. And you can still do that pattern even, but this time you're going to play the D string and the G string, so it would sound something like this. Or if you start with the G string, so I'm starting with the G string, playing the bottom two strings, and then going to the D string. And then when you go to C, all you got to do is put your first finger down, then back to G. A, there's no real easier way, but it's only two fingers. They're really close together, so it should be fairly easy to play. I would play the A7, which is your second finger on the D string on the second fret and your third finger on the B string on the second fret. The only trick with this one is you got to make sure that your fingers are straight up enough that you're not touching that G string. You don't want the G string to make that sound, so you got to keep your fingers up a little bit so that it sounds like that. And this is a cool chord in the song because it's not always necessary, and you don't even have to play the A7, but it's a chord called a secondary dominant. And what happens with this chord is the reason it's a special chord is because it's actually out of the key. In the key of G major, A would be a minor chord. And so when you make it a major, it kind of pulls you over to that D. So this is a secondary dominant. And what secondary dominant means is a dominant chord is, like an example of a dominant chord is the fifth of the key. And so the fifth of the key would be this D. So a secondary dominant just leads you to the dominant. So this is a secondary dominant of D. So it kind of resolves to that D. All right, so those were the chorus chords. Let's go over the verse chords. Dashing through the snow in the one horse open sea, o'er the fields we D, laughing all the way D, bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, and then we know the chords there. So it goes dashing through the snow, G, C, and you can do that walk up there. G. You can go to that A7 again. So dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go D, laughing on the back to G, bells on bobtail ring, making spirits sing. What fun it is to D, back to G. All right, so that's the chords to the verse. And as you can see, it's too low for me. So I can either sing really low like that, or it gets to be too high. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. So how do we fix that? Well, we can either change the chords or we can use our capo. And I've done a couple of things with our capo, and I'll link that in the description below of how you can tell which key you're in and change keys and all of that stuff in another video. So you can check that out. But what I would do is I would go back to that lower version, dashing through the snow, because when I put my capo on, that's going to raise it. So if it's already too high for me, then it's going to be way too high when I put the capo on. So what I would do is I would probably, I know that that's way too low, so I would probably start on the 3rd fret and still play it in G. So let's see if that's in. So now I'm still singing lower. I'm singing the lower octave. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way, bells on bobtail ring. Still better, still a little low, so you can just keep going up, maybe all the way to the 5th fret. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way, bells on bobtail ring. So that ends up being a key that's comfortable for me. Doesn't sound too bad on the guitar. You don't want to go too much higher, in my opinion, than the 5th fret. And so if I'm looking at what I'm playing, I'm actually playing it in C now. If you can play it, if you do know those other chords, then you could play it in that key. But that's an easy way that you can change, use the capo to change the key of a song that is too low or too high, or is just hard to fit into what is comfortable for you. All right, guys, I hope this video helped you out a little bit on how to play Jingle Bells. I'll link up all of the Jingle Bells videos that I have available on my channel with tablature, plus the free downloadable tablature at my Patreon. You do not have to be a patron to download it, so check that out. I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video.